Hey guys, a very good evening and welcome to this live session on Quantitative Aptitude paper solutions from the previous year's IBPS Clerks exam. And as you all know, this session is for the upcoming IBPS Clerks exam, which is scheduled to start in the month of November, right? So what are we going to do today is solve some questions from the last year's IBPS Clerks paper, right? The IBPS Clerks 2015 exam paper. And we'll be choosing questions only from the quantitative aptitude section for the session today. All right. So I hope your preparation for this highly competitive exam is in full swing, right? And you're also fully geared up for the IBPS PO exam, the second slot of which is scheduled to start from this Saturday, right? I'm sure many of you have already done your exam last Sunday. So I hope that you have done well, and I also hope that you will do well if your exam is not yet over. So I think a lot of you have already joined. A few names in the chat now are Jalay, Rahul, Chirag Gupta. So how is your preparation going on? Yeah, we have Vishal and many others there, right? I'll just read the names as we go forward, right? Jeevan Kumar, Swagato Banerjee, Vikram Reddy, Chandu, and all others there. So the question is, how is your preparation going on for the IBPS PO exam, right? Which has already started, but the second slot is on this Saturday, and in general for the other IBPS exams, right? You know that IBPS RRB exams and the IBPS Clerks exams are scheduled to start in November, right? In fact, the admit cards for the IBPS RRB's Officers Scale 1 exam have been released. You can download that from the IBPS's website. Okay, the exam is starts on 5th of November, if I'm not wrong. So how is the preparation? Yeah, we have Kirtika here, says going smoothly. There's Kirtika who says, I had my exam on 16th. So how was your exam? How did you perform? And what is your confidence level about getting shortlisted for the IBPS PO main exam? See, there is the chat box available beside your video screen, so all of you can interact with us through that, right? If there's any question, anything that you would like to share with us, please post it in the chat box and I can, discuss on that with you. Although our focus will be on solving questions from the previous paper, but then how's the preparation? I would like to understand how's your preparation going on for all these exams. Well, in general, the feedback that I have got from some of the students who have finished their exam already last Sunday is that the paper was moderate. I mean, it was not difficult at all, or neither too easy, not too difficult, right? As you all know, 35 questions from quantitative aptitude and reasoning each, and 30 questions from the English language section, right? And I'm sure there are lots of other websites which should have given the breakup of the type of questions asked, so you can refer to those if you want to understand anything about what has happened on 16th. But in my view, that doesn't really matter, right? You will not be able to some magic in this 1 week in order to improve your scores for the next slot, right? So don't focus too much on what has been asked on the 16th October's exam, because more than a positive, I think it would have a negative effect in case you find that something that you're not fully prepared for has been asked, right? So don't get into all that. I think focus on solving a few more or taking up a few more mock exams and just give your best shot in the exam there, right? Okay, so I think not many of you have taken the exam last Sunday, so we don't have enough feedback here, but I hope all those who have taken it have done well, and I am sure all those who have it on the coming weekend will also do well, right? Just one suggestion that I have for all of you before we start discussing the previous paper of IBPS Clerks exam is that do not, stress yourself too much, right? And at least one day before the exam, cut down your preparation and your practice, because you need to understand that, it is not just about your knowledge for these exams. I mean, it's not just the knowledge that is getting tested. It is more to do with your behavior and your state of mind during that 1 hour of the exam, right? So you need to control your emotions. You have to be really calm and composed so that you can, give your best and boost your scores in the exam there. All right. So at least one day before the exam, cut your preparation and relax. All right. Don't involve in any sort of discussion related to the exam. Okay, keep yourself fresh, keep your mind fresh, and go for the exam there, right? Now, about the session today, like you all know, is on quantitative aptitude, and we'll be solving questions from the previous year's IBPS Clerk's paper. Now, I have a copy of the previous year's paper here, one of the previous year's paper. I mean, you know that exam was conducted in multiple slots, so we have one paper of one of those slots. So I'll quickly run through and tell you about what type of questions they're asked, and then present some of these questions on the screen, and we'll solve it together. All right. So you know that there were 35 questions from quantitative aptitude. In fact, this was the last section in the exam last year, right? The third section. Now, if you see, the first question is on ages, second question is on percentages and ratios, the third one is on average, the fourth one is about simple and compound interest. The next question was on trains, which is from time and distance, right? Problems on trains. Then there was one question on number systems. Then there are 10 questions on simplifications. So this again is a very important point to be noted, right? There were 10 questions on simplifications alone in the last year's IBPS Clerk's paper. And this is not something new. It has always been the case, right? Usually in clerical exams, be it IBPS or SBI, we see that more questions on simplifications and approximations and number series are asked. So you need to really focus and prepare well in these areas, right? Especially simplifications and approximations. Basically, it has to do with your calculation ability. So if you can improve your calculation ability, I'm sure you will be able to solve these questions very easily. And that will help you not only in this particular topic, but also in all the other topics of aptitude. Because every question that we solve from aptitude involves some or other calculation, right? So you need to really work hard and improve your calculation ability on a daily basis, right? I mean, spend 45 minutes to 60 minutes every day on calculations, and I'm sure you will see good results in a span of 15 days from now, right? So if you have not done it already, if you have not started already, please start it today itself, right? There are lots of speed math techniques that you can learn and apply in the exam. See, the one reason why many of us fail to deliver in the quantitative aptitude section is not because we have not prepared well or we have no idea about shortcut formula and all, right? It is just because we are poor in calculation. We tend to do everything on paper, right? We try to write unnecessary steps on paper. So if you can cut down the number of steps that you put on paper, you will be able to solve the same questions much faster, and obviously your overall score would improve, right? So I think the focus, especially for the IBPS Clerk's exam, should be on calculations. It will help in all the exams, but more so for the clerical exams. So 10 questions on simplifications. And again, some questions from arithmetic aptitude like profit and loss. Then there's one more question on number systems. The next one here is on boards and streams, right? Then there's one question on partnership. The next one is on time and work. Then there's a question on mensuration, right? He's talking about some equilateral triangle and square. Then there is another question on mensuration, okay? And one question on allegations and mixtures. So if you see overall, they have tested a lot of topics through these questions, right? Through these questions from arithmetic aptitude. I mean, there was a question on profit and loss, simple and compound interest, time and distance, time and work, boards and streams, right? Problems on trains, allegations and mixtures, ages, partnership, ratio and proportion, percentage, right? All these things have been tested here. Mensuration, right? So the questions are not very difficult if you go through the paper. What the point is, a good number of topics have been covered here. So you need to be good in all these topics. You need to know the best methods to solve questions, and you must learn all the shortcuts, of course, for getting the answers very quick. Then there are 5 questions on number series, which again is like the usual case, right? So overall, if you see, out of 35 questions, 10 questions on simplifications, 5 on number series, and about 10 questions on different topics of arithmetic aptitude. So we have got some, not 10 in fact, 14-15 questions on arithmetic aptitude. So almost 30 questions have been covered from various topics here. And then the last set here, which is question numbers 96 to 100, is on data interpretation. And a simple tabular data is given here. based on which 5 questions have been asked. So you see they've covered everything, right? Almost everything except permutations and combinations and probability, right? Usually the weightage is not very high for these two topics. Usually we don't get questions from these two topics at all, but then you need to be prepared with the basics, because the most predictable thing about bank exams is unpredictability, right? If all these days they have not been asking questions on permutations and probability, it doesn't mean that they'll not ask this year as well, right? They may ask you, right? So I think the idea is that there'll be a lot of, the analysis is that there'll be a lot of questions on simplifications, or I would rather say there have been a lot of questions on simplifications, approximations, number series, etc. all these years. And a good number of topics are tested through these independent questions from arithmetic aptitude, and there are 1 or 2 questions on data interpretation. Overall, I would say it is about calculations, right? You have to be very, very quick in your calculations so that you can maximize your score in that limited time. Okay. Now, I hope all of you have got a idea about what is being tested last year. Let me share my screen now, where I'll present some of these questions and we'll try and solve. Right? Are you all ready? Let me see if there are any comments related to what we have discussed so far. Raji says, is there any clubbed topics? No, well, I don't exactly understand what you're asking here, Raji. Clubbed topics means what? Combination of 2 different topics. No, that usually happens in PO's exam, I would say, where they try to make the question a little complex. Here, everything is simple and straight, right? Okay, I think a lot of you have some challenge in watching this live stream, which I think is going absolutely fine from our end. All you need to do is adjust the picture quality, right, based on your bandwidth there, so that you can, get the best output, right? Pragyan says, any PDF for the session? Well, there is no PDF. I'll present the questions on the screen and give you enough time to solve it yourself. Alright, so time now to get into the questions. Let me share my screen with all of you. Naina Agarwal says, I'm weak in miscellaneous part of mathematics, and so if I work on my calculation and other subject, is it the right strategy from now for IBPS PO mains exam? Well, Naina, at the outset, I would appreciate your confidence that you would clear the IBPS PO preliminary exam, right? Because you are now focusing on the mains exam. So that's very good, and you have to keep it up. About the strategy, I would say yes. I think you have to ensure that you keep working on your calculations on a daily basis, so that you can boost your score in the quantitative aptitude section. At the same time, you should practice questions from different topics, different sections, again on a daily basis there. Okay, so time now to present the first question, and here we go. Now, some of these are like very simple questions, so we'll try and skip because I have got almost 20 questions here. What should we start with? I'm just running through the questions to show you what all has been asked here. These are all simplifications and stuff like that, right? Okay, let's start with this one. Look at this. A 1 mark question which says 125.5 plus 242.75 plus what plus question mark into 6 by 7 equals to 480 is asking us to find out what comes in place of question mark. And you can see the options given here: 191.75, 172.75, 219.75, 189.25 and 211.25. I'll give you about 40 to 45 seconds to solve this one, and your time starts now. Siddhartha says, please cover the arithmetic portion. Well, Siddhartha, we'll try and do that. Let us solve maybe some 2 or 3 questions on simplifications, and then we will move to questions from different topics of arithmetic aptitude. Okay. Got the answer? Yeah. Naina Agarwal says it is 191.75. Kirtika and Divya have also got the same answer. Yeah. Sonalata, Lalita, Anu, all of them have got 191.75. 5 more seconds and then we'll take up the solution. Right. So very clearly, I think all those who have solved this one have got option 1 as the answer, 191.75, and time now to discuss the solution. Right. So see, the question is a simple simplifications based question, which is which is to do with the Bodmer's rule. I'm sure all of you know how to use the Bodmer's rule here. But then what matters is how easily do you arrive at the answer, right? What kind of steps do you write on paper, or how many steps do you write on paper, right? Do we actually have to put pen on paper and things like that, right? The whole idea is about cutting down the number of steps that you write on paper so that you can get the answers really quick. Now if you see, basically into 6 by 7, see 125.5 plus 242.75 plus this x into 6 by 7 equals to 480. So the first thing that we would do is, take the 6 by 7 on the other side. And when you write 6 by 7 on the other side, or take it on the other side, it becomes 7 by 6. You're getting it? It becomes 7 by 6. Or if you are comfortable, you can directly cancel 6 with 480 here. Or you can cancel 480 with 6 directly, right? Anyway, so what I'll do is I'll write it as 7 by 6. You're getting it? Into 6 by 7, then goes to the other side, becomes 7 by 6. Now, 6 goes how many times? 80 times. 80 into 7 is 560. So very clearly we know that the right hand side now is 560, right? I'll just write whatever is left out. 125.5 plus 242.75 plus question mark is equal to 560. Now just do that addition, subtraction, arithmetic calculation and find out what comes in place of question mark. So the answer would be 560 minus 125.5 minus 242.75. Now if you start adding these numbers on paper, like what usually we do when we were in school, right? 242.75. So first add these numbers. So what do we get? 5, then this is like 12, 7 and 1, 8, 6 and 3, 368.25. And then if you say that the answer is 560 minus 368.25. And again, if you subtract 560 minus 368.25 on paper, I'm just trying to show you what is usually done, right? So you would show that this is like 5, this is 9, this is 9 and this is 10. So 10 minus 5 is 5, 9 minus 2 is 7, this is 1, this will be 15 minus 6 which is 9 and 4 minus 3 is 1. So 191.75. If by any chance you have done these two calculations on paper to get the answer as 191.75, let me, wash your eyes. Answer is right, 191.75 is the correct answer, but the method is wrong. Now you might be wondering, why is the method wrong? Well, nothing wrong with the method, but just think about it. Can you do all this in the exam? Do you have enough time to put pen on paper and do all these calculations? Not really. But most of us end up doing this. And that is what we need to change, right? So the idea is to add these numbers mentally, right? You should be able to do these calculations without having to put pen on paper, all right? So what do? See, adding 125.5 with 242.75 might be difficult for many of us. But then, if you split these numbers intelligently, finding out the sum will become very easy. Like for example, 100 plus 200. You know that this is 100, this is 200, 300. 20 plus 40 is 60. 5 plus 2 is 7. So 300 plus 60 plus 7. How much is that? 367. Now 0.5 and 0.75 is 1.25. Yes or no? 0.5 and 0.75 is 1.25. You already have 367 plus 1.25. It is 368.25. So you can say that this is going to be 368.25. In fact, you need not write 368.25 on paper. You should do it mentally and remember that value. So question mark will be what? 560 minus 368.25. So you see this part of calculation that we have done on paper is not needed. You're getting me? See, why am I asking you not to put pen on paper for this one? By the time you write 125.5 here, you have spent about 2 seconds, right? Then you write 242.75, another 2 seconds. So basically 4 to 5 seconds are gone on only writing the numbers again on paper, which is a clear waste of time, right? You're killing your time here. And then you do it step by step, which is of no use in my view, right? It makes no sense. Now double is the subtraction part of it. How do you do it? Again, doing it this way is not the best way. So what do? Try to do it mentally. See, 560 minus 368.25. Subtracting it straight may be difficult, but try to split it into parts. Like for example, we can say that this 368.25 is like 360 plus 8.25. Again, you don't have to write this, but just visualize this, right? Just try to understand this mentally. So 368.25 is like 360 plus 8.25. Now what do? 560 minus 360, right? First subtract 360. 560 minus 360 is 200. 200 minus 8.25. 200 minus 8.25. So it's like 200 minus 8. Answer should be close to 192. Immediately look at the options. There's only one option which is close to 192 here. You know that it cannot be 172, 219. Okay, 189 also looks close to 192, but it cannot be so less, right? 192 point plus or minus point something, right? So it cannot go to 189, right? And 211 again is clearly out of the range there. So answer has to be 191.75. Or even if you want to complete the calculation, what happens? 560 minus 360 has resulted in 200. 200, don't try to subtract 8.25 if you're not very comfortable. Subtract 8 and then subtract 0.25. So 200 minus 8. 200 minus 8 is 192. 192 minus 0.25. 192 minus 0.25 is 191.75. You're getting it? So answer is correct. No doubt that what all of you have done or the answer that you have marked is right. 191.75 is the correct answer. But my question to all of you now is, how many of you have done such calculations on paper? Quick. I want all of you to quickly respond through the chat. Have you put this on paper? I mean, this steps on paper. 125.5 plus 242.75 or 560 minus 368.25. All I want you to comment here is on paper or without paper. Have you done this on paper or without paper? I mean, I don't mean the whole sum without paper, but did you do these steps on paper? These two steps. These two steps. These red cross steps on paper. You see Rupesh, Chirag Gupta, Siddhartha. Everybody says we have done it on paper. Right? Kirtika. Also on paper. But Vikram Reddy and Shubhendu says without paper. Srividya also says without paper. KVN Gupta on paper. Naina Agarwal, the last step on paper. Kirtika partially on paper. Krishna says on paper. So I think that is what we need to actually work on, right? See, most of you would have felt that why are you discussing this question? I mean, it's like straight, right? We just have to add, subtract some values and get the answer. No doubt all of you can solve it. But what matters is not just the solution, but how quickly do you arrive at that correct answer, right? Good that all of you got it right. But see, most of you have wasted your time, right? So just try to split the number. See, the whole idea is to understand what are the different techniques that can be used to, simplify these calculations and split and merge. What we have applied here is one of the best techniques. What did we do? We had split the number into two parts. Do the individual calculations and then merge it, right? And the split and merge technique is very important when it comes to multiplication. Here it was only about additions and subtractions, but multiplications, divisions, everywhere you can use split and merge. And then there are lots of other techniques as well. So what I would strongly recommend you all is to go through the Speedman's video that we have, right? It's a long video. You can watch it and learn all these techniques, right? And practice as much as possible. See, simply learning techniques again is not going to help you. You must be able to apply it. You must get the best idea at the right time. And the only way to do that is to practice more and more. Okay. So I know it's not too lengthy. Even on paper, you would have done it in about 30 seconds or so. But when you can do it in 15 seconds without paper, why do you want to spend 30 seconds on paper? Okay. So get out of your comfort zone. The problem is we all are very comfortable doing it on paper. And that is the reason we just continue doing it. But remember, it's not going to help you in the exam because the competition is huge. Lakhs of students are going to appear for it. Okay. So every split of a second matters, right? And then there are lots of other techniques as well. I mean, this is just one example that we have solved, but you can probably try out unit-digit method, or maybe you can try the root-digit method or the digital root method, but only if it is needed. In this case, I would say just go ahead with the calculation, but keep it simple. Don't complicate things yourself. All right. So let us take one more question on simplifications, and then we will back to the screen now. Let me just see what else do we have. What else do we have from simplifications? I think we have some questions on aptitude here. Yeah, let's try this out. Look at this one. Again, simple question. 45% of 360 plus 288 is what percentage of 750? 45% of 360 plus 288 is what percentage of 750? So solve this quickly. Kiran Suresh says, what kind of calculations should I practice on? See, basically, Kiran, you just have to assume simple two-digit numbers, two-digit numbers, try to multiply them, add, divide, subtract. It's like choose your numbers yourself and do a calculation, verify if you have got it right or not. You'll get a better idea when you And the price is 45% of 360 plus 288 is what percentage of 750? Vikram Reddy has got 60 as the answer. Divya, Swati, GP Guru, Vinod Kumar, Rahul, all of you have got 60. Good. 60 is what everybody says. But again, what matters is how many steps did you put on paper. Alright. So time is up. Let me now before I solve this time, let me understand what have you done. Now you know that the first term in this question was 45% of 360. So how do you calculate that? I would like to understand how did you arrive at the result of 45% of 360. How do you do that calculation? You know that 45% is like 45 by 100 multiplied by 360. So of course you can do that calculation, but have you done that, or is there any other way that you have followed? 45% of 360. 45% of 360. Okay, so Vishal says he's taken 9 by 20. Lalita says 50 minus 5. Vikram Reddy also says 50 minus 5. Yeah. So I'm actually very happy to see that most of you have followed the best method to do this calculation here, right? Kirtika has done 40 plus 5. Kirtika says 45% is not 45%, it is 40% plus 5%. But I would say you are better off taking it as 50% minus 5%, right? And then some of you have also tried 9 by 20, like Chirag Gupta, Naina Agarwal, right? They say that the answer is, 45% is equivalent to 9 by 20. Well, you can do that as well. Easy to apply in this case because 360 gets cancelled by 20, 18 times. But I think I would still say 50% minus 5% is the best way to do this particular calculation, right? Let's try it out. See, what is the idea? Split. 45% is difficult. So try to break it into parts. Now you can do that in a number of ways. You can say it is 20% plus 25%. You can say it is 40 plus 5%, 50 minus 5%, or 30 plus 15%, or 28 plus let's say 17%, whichever way you want to. But the easiest one in my view is to break it as 50% minus 5%. Now what is the advantage? Simple. Point number one, calculating 50% is very easy. You know that 50% of any value is half of that value, right? 50% of x is half of x. Like 50% of 800 is 400. 50% of 9,000 is 4,500. 50% of 24 lakhs is 12 lakhs, right? 50% of 18 is 9. 50% of 38 is 19, right? 50% of 44 is 22. So basically 50% is half. So calculating 50% is very easy. That's the first advantage here. The second advantage is the moment you have got 50% of a value, 5% is readily available. Why? 5% is like 50% by 10, right? 5% can be equated as 50% by 10. So whatever the result is for 50%, divide that by 10 to get 5% value. You're getting it? So 50% minus 5%. That's the best way to do this calculation. Let's try it out. Like what is 45% of 800? Let's start with a simple example. What is 45% of 800? 50% minus 5%. 50% is 400. If 50% is 400, 5% is 40. 400 minus 40 is 360. It is because I'm explaining it to you, it is taking a little bit of time, right? When you do it yourself mentally, you will be getting it much faster, right? Try 45% of let's say 1200, 45% of 1200. It's very simple, 50 minus 5. So 50% is 600 and hence 5% is 60. 600 minus 60 is 540. That's your answer. 45% of 360 is the question. What is 50% of 360? 180. If 50% is 180, 5% is 18. Now 180 minus 18. 180 minus 18 is 162. So you know that the first term is 162. And if you had already practiced this, concept of split and merge for doing some percentage calculations, the moment you see 45% of 360, you know that it is 162, right? And then you have to add 288 to get the left hand side value. Okay, so I'll go back to the video screen now and complete this calculation. So you must know how to get 45% of a given value, right? 45% of any value, 50% minus 5%. So do that now. So basically 50% minus 5% will result in 162 here. 162 plus 288. Again, quickly split and add. 100 and 200 is 300, 60 and 80 is 140, 2 and 8 is 10. So 300 plus 140, 440 plus 10, 450, right? Or maybe you can say 2 plus 8 is 10.
So you can actually bring this 2 here. So 288 will become 290. 290 plus 160. 290 plus 160. So 290 plus 100 is 390 plus 60 is 450. So left hand side is 450. 450 is what percent of 750? Again, don't do all this nonsense here. Like 450 equals to, let's assume X percent. So X by 100 into 750, then 0 and 0 cancel, then 5 into 15, 5 into 2, then 15 into 1, 15 into 30, then 30 into 2 is equal to 60. Answer is correct. 60 is the answer. But what you have done is crap. You can't be doing this in the exam. So what do you do now? 450 is what percentage of 750 is the question. If you are capable of finding out the value of this question mark here without putting pen on paper, then you are ready for this exam. Otherwise, you have to work hard. How do you do this? See, you know that 10% of 750 is 75. 10% is 75. Yes or no? 10% is 75. But this is not 75. This is 450. So try and see if it comes out to be a multiple of 75. You getting it? Now if you have practiced on calculations, you would know that 450 is like 75 into 6. Again, this is like split and merge only. Basically, we are trying to split 450 as a multiple of 75. So I get to know that 450 is 75 into 6. Yes or no? And we also know that 75 is 10%. So I'll replace this 10%. 10% into 6 is how much? 60%. That's your answer. And you will not be writing all this on paper. Remember, you will do this mentally. Clear to all of you? So cut down the number of steps. The whole idea is to write as less as possible on paper there, so that you can save your precious time. Right? So 10% into 6, 60% should be the answer. Alright? Let's move to the next one. I think let's take something from arithmetic aptitude now. I would like to go back and let's try this out. This was again one of the questions that was asked last year. This is on ages. Question on ages there. Let's see how many if you get it right. 6 years from now, the average of Monu's age that time and Ninu's age that time will be 29 years. 5 years ago, if the ratio of Monu's age to Ninu's age at that time was 11:7, what is Ninu's present age? Options have been given to you. I'll give you 1 minute to try this out and your time starts now. Okay, Shubhendu says, please show us at least one problem by digital root method. Well, first of all, Shubhendu, root is not R-O-U-T-E. Root is R-O-O-T. Anyway, that doesn't matter. What matters is the method there, right? What's the digital method? So, Shubhendu, if I'm not wrong, you are a TalentSprint student, right? And you should not be worried about it. So the digital root method has been discussed in the simplifications video. You can just go through that. Anyway, I'll try and pick one question in the session today if possible. And we'll solve it using digital root method. But solve this now. 19 years, yeah. Kirtika, Rahul, Srividya, I've got 19 years is the answer. Option 4. Waiting for others to respond. Alright, so I think many of you have been able to crack this, and the answer that you've got is 19 years. Let's just solve this now. So the question reads, 6 years from now, the average age of Monu's age, so the average of Monu's age that time and Ninu's age that time will be 29 years. Right? So 6 years from now means what? After 6 years. After 6 years, the average of Monu's age at that time. That means Monu's age after 6 years, and Ninu's age at that time means Ninu's age after 6 years will be 29 years. So their average age after 6 years is going to be 29 years. 5 years ago, right? 5 years ago, the ratio of Monu's age to Ninu's age at that time again, right? That time was 11:7. So if you take Monu's age minus 5 and Ninu's age minus 5, the ratio will come out to be 11:7. From this data, he's asking us to find out Ninu's present age. Ninu's present age. Now there is a step-by-step process that you can follow and get the answer here. Basically, there are two equations and two unknowns. You can solve for it, right? How do you do that? The conventional method, right? How do you do it? See, let us assume Monu's present age is M, Ninu's present age is N. He says 6 years from now, the average of Monu's age that time and Ninu's age that time will be 29 years. See, Monu's age after 6 years will be M plus 6. Ninu's age after 6 years will be N plus 6. The average of these two values, that means M plus 6 plus N plus 6 by 2 is equal to 29. This is equation number 1. What is the second equation? 5 years ago, the ratio of Monu's age to Ninu's age was 11:7. So 5 years ago, Monu's age was M minus 5. Ninu's age was n minus 5. This ratio was 11:7. Second equation. Now two equations and two unknown values. M and n are the two unknown values. So you can solve these two equations and find out what is n. He's asking us to find out Ninu's percentage. N is equal to what is the question. So that's how you solve it using the conventional method. But in my view, it's a waste of time, especially when it comes to questions on ages, which are based on ratios, right? So how do you solve it? How do you solve it without having to use these equations, without using these equations? So I think the first step is to eliminate what you know is definitely wrong. Like for example, if you read the second part of the question, it says 5 years ago, the ratio of Monu's age to Ninu's age was 11:7, which means I know that 5 years ago, Ninu's age was a multiple of 7. Monu's age was a multiple of 11. Yes or no? 5 years ago, Monu's age was a multiple of 11 and Ninu's age was a multiple of 7. You getting it? This is the first thing that you must observe in such questions. 5 years ago, their ages were multiples of 11 and 7 respectively. What is he asking us to find out? Ninu's percentage. So obviously in the options, he would have given us Ninu's percentage. So according to option 1, Ninu's percentage is 17. Option 2 says it should be 33. Option 3 says it should be 27 and so on. Now, how do you verify using the options? Let us assume option 1 is correct. If option 1 is correct, Ninu's present age is 17. If Ninu's present age is 17, Ninu's age 5 years ago was 12. 17 minus 5, 12. Is 12 a multiple of 7? No, 12 is not a multiple of 7. Option 1 is wrong. Because we very well know that Ninu's age 5 years ago was a multiple of 7. Look at option 2. According to option 2, Ninu's present age is 33. If the present age is 33, 5 years ago the age was 28. Is 28 a multiple of 7? Yes. Now just because 28 is a multiple of 7, you cannot say option 2 is the answer. You'll have to verify the other conditions as well. Right? You'll have to verify the other conditions as well. Now what's the other condition? It is about their average age. But we'll go to that later. Let us check the remaining options first. Present age 27, 5 years ago 22. Is that a multiple of 7? No, eliminated. Present age 19, 5 years ago 14. Is that a multiple of 7? Yes. So option 4 is also possible. Option 2 is possible. 4 also is possible. Option 5, present age 22, 5 years ago 17. Is that a multiple of 7? No. Option 5 is eliminated. So if you go by this process, within a span of let's say 10 seconds, you will be able to eliminate 3 of the wrong answers, 3 of the wrong options. And then if you are really lucky and let's say 4 options get eliminated, then the one which is left out is the correct answer. You don't even have to work on the second condition there. Now because 2 options are satisfying one condition here, we have to verify the second condition. Right? Now what is the second condition? Let us try and understand this average part here. This again can be made much simpler. Instead of saying m plus 6 plus n plus 6 by 2 is 29, we can simply say that the present average of these two guys is 23 years. How do we say that? How do we say that? See, after 6 years, their average is 29 years. Let us look at their present ages, right? Present age is m, present age is n. After 6 years, what happens? After 6 years, it will become plus 6. So m will become m plus 6. N will become n plus 6. He says the average of these two values is 29 years. The average of these two values is 29 years. Understand, from the basics of average, we know that when each term increases by 6, average also increases by 6. When each term increases by x, average increases by x. When each term decreases by x, average decreases by x. When each term in the group is multiplied by let's say some value y, average also gets multiplied by y. When each term gets divided by some value, let's say a, the average also gets divided by a. Now the point is, going by that, if you see m plus 6 and n plus 6, average is 29. If you look at m and n, what has happened? This has decreased by 6 years. This also has decreased by 6 years. Yes or no? I mean, we are going in the reverse direction. M plus 6 has become m. So reduced by 6 years. N plus 6 has become n. Reduced by 6 years. Now if both the values have reduced by 6 years, their average will also get reduced by 6 years. It will become 23 years. Remember, the average is 23. If average is 23, sum will be 46. So I can say that the present sum is 46 years. And remember, you should be able to analyze this and come to this conclusion that present sum is 46 without writing any step on paper. You should not write this in the exam. Of course, this method we are not going to use at all, but even this part should not be put on paper. After 6 is it is 29, present is 23. Present is 23 means sum is 46. That's it. So you know that the sum is 46. Now verify. According to option 2, Ninu's present age is 33. That means out of 46, N's contribution is 33. So what will be M's contribution? 13. You said no, 33 plus 13 is 46. 33 plus 13 is 46. Which means according to option 2, Monu's present age is 13. If Monu's present age is 13, what was Monu's age 5 years ago? 13 minus 5. 13 minus 5 is what? 8. Is 8 a multiple of 11? No. Option 2 also is eliminated. And hence, option 4 is the answer. Let us verify this for option 4 as well. As it is actually not needed because you are 100% sure that 1, 2, 3 and 5 are wrong. So 4 has to be the answer, but let's verify. What happens here? See, according to this option, Ninu's present age is 19. That means out of 46, 19 goes to Ninu. If Ninu's age is 19, what should be Monu's age? 46 minus 19. What is 46 minus 19? 27. So Monu's present age is 27 according to option 4. Monu's present age is 27. If Monu's present age is 27, 5 years ago Monu's age would be 22. 27 minus 5, 22. Is 22 a multiple of 11? Yes. Satisfying all conditions, right? Option 4 is the answer. You getting it? Option 4 is the answer. So this is how you can actually save a lot of time. You see, nothing has to be put on paper in my view if you follow this method. Don't go by the length of the explanation. Explanation was lengthy because it was explanation. I mean, I was not solving it. I was explaining it to you. And I was trying to do it in, a lot of detail there. But when you do it yourself, you won't take much time. I'm sure in about 15 seconds, you would know that option 4 is the correct answer, right? Siddhartha says that in exam time, implementing these fine tricks becomes tough. Yeah, it becomes tough because you haven't practiced enough. If you practice it enough during your preparation, then nothing is difficult. It becomes tough for 2 reasons. One is you have not practiced. Second is you are not confident that this would work. I mean, both are indirectly related to the amount of practice that you have done, right? So if you practice now, I'm sure you should be able to apply this. Otherwise, how do you think you are going to crack it? Competition is huge, right? For every single vacancy, there are thousands of people writing the exam, or if not thousands, a few hundreds of students writing the exam. How do you think those who are getting shortlisted, those who are getting selected for the next round, do you think they follow all these regular methods? No. They are doing something different. And you also have to do something different. If you follow the crowd, you will be in the majority. And you know that the majority gets disqualified. Right? So, practice is the key. I think that's how it is. Let us take something else now. Try this out. This question from boats and streams. As such, this topic is very simple. You just have to understand the equations for upstream and downstream cases. But again, like I said, just because the topic is simple doesn't mean that our solution will also be, kept simple. I mean, most of the times we make the solution complicated. So I give you about 1 minute for this. Let us see how many of you get it right. Your time starts now. And I hope all of you have understood the previous method. I'm just jumping to the next question because time is about to get over. We are supposed to close the session at 7 o'clock. So I don't think I'll be able to solve many questions today. But then I hope all of you have followed the previous method. So many of you have got 19 years as the answer. I think you have to just check it yourself if you have followed the best method. Waiting for your response for this question. 14.4. Good. Raji, Rahul, Siddhartha, Srividya, Krishna. All of these guys have got 14.4. And so has Pragyam. Pragyam, Snehasri, SP, Neetu, Priya Jaiswal, Kirtika, Chirag Gupta, right? Bhavana. So great. I'm sure you have got the right answer because all of you got 14.4. So shows that there is a consistency. But then, like what we have been checking always is the method. I mean, answer is correct. No doubt the answer is correct. But did you keep it simple or make it complex? That's the question. I'll wait for a few more seconds before we
get into the solution. I'm sure others are still solving it. All right, so I think time is up, and good to see that all of you have got 14.4 as the answer, right? Option 5. Let's solve it now. So it says a boat can travel 10.2 kilometers upstream in 51 minutes. If the speed of the current, which is nothing but the speed of the water flow there, is 1/5 of the speed of the boat, in still water, then how much distance can the boat travel downstream in 48 minutes? Right? So if we see, boat can travel 10.2 kilometers upstream in 51 minutes. He's asking us to find out how much will the boat travel downstream in 48 minutes. The distance basically. And so distance is given, time is given for the first case. We have to find out the distance for the second case based on the time here. Right? Of course, the scenario is changing. In the first case it was upstream, now it is about downstream. And what about the speed here? He says the speed of the current, which means the speed of the water, is 1/5 of the speed of the boat. Right? 1/5 of the speed of the boat in still water. So how do you solve it? Now, first and foremost, you must know the equations, right? The upstream and the downstream equation. What happens in case of upstream? You know that when the boat is traveling upstream or a man is swimming upstream, he is going against the water flow. So the net speed or the effective speed is reduced. So this will be the speed of the boat minus speed of the current. Right? Speed of the boat minus speed of the current, which is equal to the distance traveled by time. This is the upstream equation. What happens in downstream? In case of downstream, right? The boat is running along the stream. So that stream will help the boat move faster. So speed of the boat plus speed of the current is equal to distance by time here. So the only difference is sum or the difference of the speeds based on the direction. So if you understand again, he says speed of the current is 1/5 of the speed of the boat, right? SC is equal to SB by 5. SC equals to SB by 5. Now first substitute this in both the equations. So what do we get? The first equation says, in this case, the first equation, I'll just write the equations again. The first equation, second one. What are we substituting in both the cases? SB equals to SC by 5. Right? SB equals to SC by 5. Sorry, SC equals to SB by 5. SC is equal to SB by 5. Substitute this in both the equations. So what do we get? From the first equation we get SB minus SB by 5 equals to 10.2 kilometers by 51 minutes. The second equation would become SB plus SC by 5 equals to, the distance has to be calculated, time is given as 48 minutes. Now independently, if you look at the equations, yes, here the distance is given in kilometers, time is given in minutes. You very well know that the units have to be balanced when you are working on an equation here, right? Units have to be balanced. So basically you have to convert this minutes to hours, then find out the speed of the boat from this equation, right? The first equation, if you see, has got only one variable, SB. You can solve for SB, everything is given to us, right? 10.2 kilometers, 51 minutes, and on the left hand side we have got the speed. So solve for speed of the boat. Solve for speed of the boat from the first equation. Substitute that SB which you get here in second equation. Sorry, I think this will be SB by 5, not SC by 5. So substitute that SB value in the second equation. Then what happens? D can be calculated. But instead of doing all this, instead of solving for the speed of the boat and then solving for the distance traveled downstream, a smart person would simply divide the two equations. See what happens? I'll just write one more step here, but in the exam you can do it directly, right? SB minus SB by 5, is 4SB by 5. Divided by this downstream case, SB plus SB by 5 will be 6SB by 5 equals to, in the upstream it was 10.2 divided by 51. In the downstream it is D by 48. See, as such you have to convert this minutes to hours. So you have to divide by 60. But 48 also will get divided by 60. And both numerator and denominator getting divided by 60 will result in no change, right? So, conversion also is ruled out. In this case, you would have had to convert the minutes to hours and then substitute. But even that is ruled out when you go for the division of the two equations. So divide the two equations, and in this one step will give you the answer directly. How? See, 5 and 5 in the denominators get cancelled here. The speed of the boat gets cancelled, most importantly. We don't have to depend on the speed of the boat here. It is getting eliminated in both numerator and denominator, and that's the advantage here. Without calculating the speed of the boat, we are able to arrive at the answer. And remaining part is just the simplification. Now this is like 2 by 3. So what happens? You just simplify this. We get 2 by 3 equals to
This will be 10.2 divided by 51 into, when you take d by 48 in the numerator, it becomes 48 by d. Now solve for d. So this is like 3 into 1, 3 into 17. Again, this is like 24 times. 17 here goes 0.6 times. I mean, if you see 17 into 6 is 102. So 17 into 0.6 will be 10.2. So overall, what's the distance? Distance will be 0.6 into 24. 0.6 into 24 is 14.4. You're able to follow? See, please don't write this intermediate step. I mean, I had written it to show you what usually is done by most of the students. Cut this down. And don't even write this formula. Directly, you must put this on paper. You know that in the upstream case, it will be s minus s by 5. So 4s by 5. In the downstream case, it will be s plus s by 5. 6s by 5. 10.2 by 51 d by 48. Simplify this and get the answer. The advantage is we don't have to calculate speed of the boat for finding out the distance. In the conventional method, we find out the speed of the boat and then find out the distance. Now tell me, all of you have got 14.4 as the answer. How many of you have got the answer without calculating the speed of the boat? How many of you have calculated? How many of you have got the answer without calculating the speed of the boat? That's the smart way of doing it, right? So you have to just mention, whether you have found the speed of the boat or did not find. Did you calculate SB or without SB? With SB, without SB. Comment that so that I get to know what is being done by most of you. Right? SB or without SB? Yeah, so I think many of you say me, meaning you have done it with the speed of the boat, right? On paper. It's not about on paper or without paper. Of course, that step has to be put on paper. But the point is, did you calculate that speed of the boat with SB? Right? Look at Siddhartha. Siddhartha says with SB. Kirtika says with SB. Azhar says without SB, which is good. Raji has calculated speed of the boat. SP, Himanshu, Snehasri have done it without the speed of the boat. Pragyam has done it with speed of the boat. So although all of you got 14.4 is the answer, which is the correct answer, many of you had not followed the best method, right? And you know that time is the key in this exam, right? Time management is very, very important. So you'll not be able to manage your time effectively if you start following the conventional methods. You have to just ensure that you think different and, cut down the steps. Alright? Kiran says how that 4SB has come. SB minus SB by 5, right? SB minus SB by 5 is how much? 4SB by 5. SB plus SB by 5 in the denominator will be 6SB by 5. We are doing calculation on upstream speed and downstream speed, right? Upstream speed is speed of the boat minus speed of current. Speed of the boat is S. Speed of the current is S by 5. S minus S by 5. S minus S by 5 will be 4S by 5. Alright? So I think the time is up. It's 7 o'clock and 5 minutes already. I'll have to close the session here. I wish I could solve more questions, but don't worry. I mean, this is just one session that we're doing on Wednesday, but for the TalentSprint student, there are 3 sessions every week, right? Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And we have 12 sessions for, refreshing the concepts for the upcoming IBPS Clerk exam. So if you would like to explore about our programs, please visit our website, which is talentsprint.com, or you can also call our toll-free number, which is 1-800-102-9006. Right? The details are also available on the page that you are currently present. You can find that out and explore our program. Right? And one thing that I would like to mention is whether you join the program or not, practice on calculations, because clearly for one to boost his score in quantitative aptitude, one has to be very good in calculations. It's not about shortcut formulae. In my view, shortcut formulae and techniques are all secondary. What is primary is to be very good in calculation. Like even in this question, the one that we have solved just now on boats and streams, if you cannot do those calculations quickly, if you start putting them on paper for every step, then you end up wasting a lot of time. Although you get the same answer, the right answer, but time compared to others or time compared to the top performers will be, very high. So you have to be very, very quick and very sharp in your calculations. So I think that's my suggestion to all of you. Please practice at least 45 minutes to 60 minutes every day on improving your calculation ability, right? And there is a speed maths video to help you understand what are the different techniques that can be followed. Okay, all this can be explored through our programs, details of which I have already given to you. You can visit our website and get ready for your IBPS Clerk exam. Thank you once again for joining
us in this session. All right. We'll meet again on Wednesday. I think the session next Wednesday is going to be on English language, right? Details of which will be made available on our YouTube channel and the Facebook page. So please join us with your friends in these sessions and keep getting ready for your exam. Azhar says, is there any shortcut? Please बोल के जाइए. Shortcut किस चीज का? इस question को solve करने का. I think I've already given you a smart method of solving it, right? The only shortcut, Azhar, in my view, for quantitative aptitude, forget about boards and streams or partnership or averages, right? In general, the best tool to score more in this particular section of your exam is to have a very sharp and very good calculation ability. So just work on that, and I'm sure you will see the difference, right? We don't realize that we are wasting a lot of time on calculation. What we run after is the shortcut formula. But shortcut formula are like what? I mean, one day before the exam, you can learn all the shortcut formula. I mean, it doesn't take much time, right? What really needs a lot of practice for one to improve is doing this, calculation ability. So just do that. The best shortcut is to work on your calculations. All right. So thank you once again. I'll see you all in the next session. Till then, keep practicing and take very good care of yourselves. See you.